Welcome to the Gen Gap, where time-tested leadership meets the demands of a new generation. I'm Maureen Fitzgerald, your host, bringing candid conversations with industry heavyweights. Together, we unpack how they are rethinking talent, culture, and leadership in the face of generational transition, AI disruption, and the rise of personal brand dominance. Today's guest is Megan McDonald, CEO of Daiwa Capital Markets Europe. Megan brings over 20 years of global investment banking experience, having started her career in debt capital markets at Standard Bank, Africa's largest bank by assets. She's held senior leadership roles across South Africa, the UK, and the US, overseeing international teams in equity and debt capital markets, M&A, advisory, and syndication. Before stepping into her current role, Megan served as global head of client coverage, leading strategy and relationship teams across major financial hubs, including London, Dubai, Beijing, New York, and Brazil. Megan was shortlisted for Banker of the Year at the Women in Finance Awards London, named one of Europe's top 100 women in finance by Financial News, and recognized as a 2022 Women Leader in Finance by Finance and Investing magazine. It is an honor to welcome Megan to the show. Megan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Maureen. Thank you. It's good to be speaking to you.
I'm so looking forward to our conversation, so let's jump in. I'd love to get some of your background as to what your career journey looked like and how you came to be CEO of Daiwa Securities EMEA.
Yeah, it's not by design. Like most people, I think I started out in a certain direction, thinking that I would be a lawyer. I grew up on a farm in a very remote part of South Africa. No one in my family had graduated from university. So it wasn't really a career path that was well known to me and my family. I always wanted to be a lawyer. Went to university, had the great fortune to win a scholarship to Oxford in England to do my master's in English law. And then had the opportunity, this was the early 2000s, to join a bank in South Africa as the capital markets were just starting to grow, and thought I would be a lawyer on the fixed income desk for maybe 3 years and then go back to being a partner in a law firm. And nearly 25 years later, I'm still in investment banking and very grateful for it. I've had an incredible experience across various businesses, running debt capital markets, running investment banking, running global client coverage across Africa with clients in the US and in Europe. I've had the opportunity to work in China, and now I'm CEO of Daiwa Capital Markets Europe, which is the EMEA region for Daiwa Securities Group, which is one of the biggest brokerage and securities firms in Japan.
Wow, that's impressive. And how would you say your leadership perspective has changed over your career?
Yeah, in the beginning, I think it's all about you. It's about you as the individual, and I was always the one that they brought complex problems to solve. We designed structures in the South African market that are still in use today, but we designed them first time ever as the markets were developing. And so at that time, I was all about me. What could I bring? And as I've learned over time, it's not about me anymore. It's actually about the team around me. It's the people that I lead. And I've learned that I get a lot more satisfaction out of inspiring people to do things that they never thought possible. So building a team, we've done created a lot of firsts in the African market. We've done quite a few things in my current environment that people didn't think we were able to do. And I think my leadership style has changed from me being the one and it all being about me to actually motivating, inspiring, supporting people, because you can achieve a lot more together than alone. I always remember there's a wonderful African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that describes the leader I try and be every day, which is to bring people along on the journey with me, because you can achieve a lot more that way.
So building on that, how are you thinking about the next generation, and what are some of the things you're doing to kind of help them progress in their careers?
Yeah, I think the next generation, we always thought we had it tough, but I think it's really tough for the younger generations now. They've just come out of COVID, and COVID was a really difficult experience for all of us. But I think for the younger generations who are perhaps just starting out in their careers, really difficult time. Those of us who are more senior, like myself, we'd had many more years to develop strong relationships with clients, with peers, with colleagues. So the transition to remote working and having conversations on a screen as opposed to face was not that difficult. We still see the lingering effects of COVID on our younger generation. Many of them remain reluctant to come back to the office. Many of them prefer a means of communication that's not face to face. And we all know the benefits of being together, being in a room together and learning from others. I think added to that is the whole AI transition, where many junior roles that all of us used to do as part of our training are disappearing. So it's becoming increasingly difficult for the younger generation to find their place and to find somewhere where they can learn from others by being in a face-to-face office environment, but where they can also learn from a hands-on doing some of the basics. I remember I used to stamp share certificates more than 25 years ago, and some of those mechanics of how shares get transferred, I still use today. But those types of things are going out with AI. So I think it's pretty tough for the younger generation in the current working environment.
So how are you thinking about training programs or sort of trying to get that learning? Maybe it has to be done more formally than what was done more informally.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. You have to be more deliberate, which is, I think, what you're saying about formally. I think whereas in the past, many of us fell into things by accident, or we were given opportunities that perhaps came along because we were in the right place at the right time. I don't think you can leave it to that in anymore in the current environment. You have to be a lot more deliberate about how you choose to train your younger generation. I think it's a great responsibility. It's a privilege, but it's also a great responsibility. And you have to take a lot of care to design programs that are giving people exposure to all the skills that are going to be part or a critical part of their development. One thing that we're doing that we're seeing having quite positive results, and this is a personal passion of mine as well, is giving people experience outside of their core competency. So I didn't come from a traditional finance background, going into an investment banking world. I was a lawyer. And in those days, you had to be a finance person, or you had to be an M&A person. You had to know how to do a cash flow modeling, all those kinds of things. And if you're a lawyer, you don't really get trained in that kind of stuff. And I think taking people outside of their core competency and giving them exposure to a very different part of the business, we've had phenomenal results because you unearth skills and natural talent that the people themselves didn't even know that they had. So we've had a great example just recently. We had a young graduate join us 2 years ago, and she was straight out of university, and she worked for my chief of staff, and she was preparing reports and doing presentations. And we're about to offer her a job as a salesperson on our fixed income desk, selling US treasuries to clients. That's a phenomenal story of somebody who came straight out of a grad school. She doesn't have an MBA. She doesn't have finance skills, but she aced all the interviews and showed a real passion. So I think taking people out of the box, I think we put people into boxes too early on, and I think that limits their development. And so I'm a big proponent of purposeful, meaningful, very purposeful development, but every now and again playing the maverick card and exposing someone who's young and flexible and adaptable to something completely new, because you never know what diamonds you unearth in that process.
That's a great story. Sort of leads to my next question. How are you thinking about culture as part of your growth plans, and how are you actively shaping that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, it's a bit of a hackneyed saying, but I really believe it. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I really believe that. And we've had kind of personal experience when I joined Daiwa. The business had lost its way a little bit, and we've worked really hard over the last 3 years to turn a double-digit PBT loss into a double-digit profit, and that's taken a lot of hard work. It's taken headcount reduction, cost reduction, growing revenue, so a lot of heavy lifting. And what I'm seeing in my people now is a little bit of fatigue. And that tells me that we haven't focused enough on culture while we've been changing the business. So we're implementing a big program now where I've said to the staff at my last town hall, we're just going to be recalibrating a little bit. I think we've gone very heavy on revenue growth, on cost reduction, and perhaps we need to focus a little bit more on people and what does it mean for them. And we have a great, I think, strategy for our people linked to our Japanese heritage. When I joined, I grew up in Africa. Many people don't live beyond 60 in Africa. And then I joined a Japanese firm where Japanese people have some of the longest life expectancy in the world. And for me, this was this just incredible clash of cultures, sociological factors, all those types of things, where I said to myself, with our Japanese heritage and being based in Europe, where we also face an aging population, we should be about creating longer, better lives in everything that we do. So we can channel funding to institutional investors to create a better environment or towards healthcare. But to get back to your question on culture, longer, better lives is for our employees as well. And so parts of our culture that are linked to our strategy, and culture doesn't exist on its own, in my view. Culture must be linked to your strategy. So longer, better lives, we take the better lives and we say, what are we doing for our people, for their talent management, for their career progression? And so the story that I've just told about the young lady who joined us as a graduate in the chief of staff office, now going to be a salesperson on the fixed income desk. So we're really looking at how do we offer opportunities to people within our firm first, before we necessarily go out and hire. And how do we think outside of the box in terms of not just picking the person that looks like the previous person, or that might look and come from a background like the other people on the desk. So diversity and inclusion is really big for us as well, because I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a beneficiary of that. I grew up on a farm, as I mentioned. I don't come from a traditional background, and I think I love the richness of different cultures, people from different backgrounds, people bringing different ideas. So our culture is very much linked to longer, better lives and everything we try and do, both for our clients and our people, to create longer, better lives.
So I know you told me a story about a program you have that supports that longer, better lives in giving back to the community. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, sort of working with
Yeah, and
lives?
this, thank you. And this is something that we found. It's also linked to one of your earlier questions about younger people and younger people experiencing challenges with being in the office and what that means for their career development. What we've also found from a cultural aspect, and this goes for all generations, but I think it's particularly top of mind for the younger generations, is not to have a job for the sake of a job, but to have a job that enables people to tap into their values, for people to think that their job is making a difference. Yes, it's a paycheck at the end of the day, and we all need those. But I think if we can appeal to making a difference in people's lives, that's almost something that is a higher calling for people. It inspires them to bring discretionary effort, more effort. And so one of the things that I did when I arrived is in our corporate philanthropy, our corporate social responsibility, we were spending a lot of money on different causes, and I don't think really making an impact anywhere, bit of a scattergun approach. So again, we aligned our corporate social responsibility with our strategy and culture of longer, better lives. And we've teamed up with one of the leading hospitals in the UK, the Royal Brompton Hospital, where they have probably the leading centre in Europe for pulmonary hypertension. And they are using AI inspired technology to develop new pulmonary hypertension medications, treatments. And it's incredible when you hear the stories of people who, when they get diagnosed, have a life expectancy of 30 years. And they go through this treatment program, and suddenly they're having families, and one lady falling pregnant, the clinic helped her. And I think for our people to hear those stories really inspires them to be part of an organization that raises money towards a cause like that. And so I think you've got to marry those two things, where you can use your corporate culture, your corporate social responsibility to attract people to your business. Because when those values align with what you're actually doing, your actions and your words need to align. I think that's a powerful proposition for people to come and work for you and to give their discretionary effort.
So you mentioned that it's been sort of a lot of hard work over the last 2 years to get to a good place, and the focus will be sort of turning a little bit more to your people. You've talked about that situation as far as culture, but what are you thinking about next for the business, or for how you might engage your people going forward?
Yeah, so we have a program where we have 6 executive committee members, including myself, and I've assigned each executive committee member a theme that they need to work on. And so we're telling our people that over the next year, so for example, leadership and talent development is one of our key themes. And so the person who's leading that needs to communicate with the firm. What are we doing? What are some of the things that we're implementing to develop our leaders? So we've got some training programs to help our leaders have difficult conversations, to help our leaders implement development plans. And I'm implementing development plans for my direct reports so that they can feel the development for them personally. And I hope that will then inspire them to do it for their people. We're also embarking on an automation program. So we haven't really invested in technology for a long period of time, which is causing frustration for our people because they're having to do a lot of manual work. We don't have the latest up-to-date systems. So we have an investment program of about £15 million over the next 3 years to automate a lot of processes. We've just implemented a new order management system in our equities business. We're outsourcing certain functions. So that's to give our people, alongside their training and their development, it's also to give them a modern workplace where they can experience the latest technology. But what comes with that is also a fear of losing jobs, because
Yeah.
AI and automation and all of those things, whilst we can see the benefits, they do naturally cause people to think about, will their jobs be replaced? So we're doing a lot of work where, for example, we've outsourced one of our functions around Know Your Customer, which is a lot of sort of administrative type work. But what we've done is about 2 people that were part of that project, we've given them different roles in a different part of the business, and we've given them preference to applying for other roles within the firm. And I think that's where we're demonstrating that where people are talented, where we want to retain people, their career development should not be impacted by automation. We will make sure that we're retraining them and we're giving them other opportunities. And these things, you can say them, but it's more powerful to do them and to tell the stories. And so every time we have where that happens to somebody, obviously we share their stories so people can see that we're putting our money where our mouth is.
That's a really good story to share. I think a lot of companies are dealing with that. And, it's certainly, more cost effective and better long term culturally, but also to not have to go out to the market, hire a brand new person that has to get to know the company. If you can retrain somebody internally, it makes business sense.
Yeah. And it goes to the core of my leadership style. I was a lawyer. I always thought that would be my life. I thought I'd be a lawyer. Today, I'm talking to you from London, and I'm the CEO for a Japanese firm in Europe. So that was something that I would never have dreamt of as a small child growing up on a farm somewhere in Africa. So I hope, my own story can inspire people, because I think we should never put ourselves in boxes. The human being, we have great talent for reinvention, for resilience, for innovation. And AI is just another part of that. It's not for us to fear. I think we need to tap into our great human capacity for reinvention, for creativity, alongside utilizing AI.
So that's sort of starting the answer to my next question, which is my final question. What legacy as a leader in the industry would you like to leave?
I'd like to leave a legacy of breaking barriers. And I think I love the Billie Jean King saying, where she says, if you can see it, you can be it. And I think for me, being a woman leading a Japanese firm, I get lots of Japanese young women coming up to me when I visit Tokyo to say, we're inspired by you. And I say to them, that's very kind, but do more than me, because you can. It's never been better for people from diverse backgrounds. We've still got a lot of work to do. But I think the opportunities have never been better for people to do things that they never thought possible. I never thought it would be possible for me to be a CEO of a Japanese firm in London. So I guess that's my legacy, is that I'd like people to do things that they never thought were possible for themselves, and create a better life for themselves and for those that will come after us.
Well, Megan, thank you so much for being on today. You've inspired me, and I think you've given some great advice and stories today. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed speaking with you.